have mentioned on this channel before how good being creative is for your mental health. I've talked about it on my rap channel as well. I'm one of those people who's always struggled in the winter, in the cold, dark days. And if you have any sort of anxiety or depression, it's always worse on a bad day, I find. A bright sunny day, it will lift your mood. It makes it easier to be motivated, to get on with things. And the weather at the moment, I'm finding, is really changeable. Yesterday was really bright and sunny, but then it turned dull. Today it's tipping with rain, it's really dark. I can't see at all to do anything without a light on. I'm struggling with lighting for my videos. One of my daylight bulbs is broken. It is just not a great day. And I've got a lot of anxiety this week because I've got a hospital appointment that I don't want to go to, and that always stresses me out, having to go to the hospital. And something I haven't really spoken about a lot on the channel is about what I've mentioned briefly, that I trained in graphic design, I've worked in textile design, and I've had a big career change after my head injury because it affected my vision. And that was a really bad time for me because I was just getting back into art as a career after a long time of like bringing up children and working in jobs just for money. And then I had this devastating blow of a head injury, and that really set me back because it was permanent damage to my vision. So I struggle a lot to do the work I used to do. It took me a really long time to get out of that, and I had to sort of teach myself to see, to draw, change the way I do things, which I have changed dramatically. I get a lot of headaches, some days I can't do anything. So the fact I do anything at all, I have to look on that as a bonus, that things could have been worse. And what was really awful was people telling me, oh well, you know, you'll just have to live with it, you'll just have to get on with it. Now that is fine for people who've never had something that's changed their lives dramatically. And when you've got permanent damage, and I have a lot of nerve damage, so I get pain every day. When you have something like that that's affected you, you can't just forget it. It is there every single day. So you do have to learn to live with it, but it's really unhelpful when people who haven't been through anything traumatic tell you, oh well, never mind. Well, this is something that has changed your life. But I went through a really dark time when I was like, well, this is it. I can never do anything that I wanted to do again. My whole life has changed. And what actually, I can't actually tell you the day that things changed. I don't think it was an overnight thing with me. But I was encouraged to retrain and to do Open University, and I actually went and started a science degree because science was something I couldn't do at school. I love science, and part of science is doing drawings and illustrations, and I gradually thought, I can actually do this. I can do something with the help. I had a wonderful lady who came to my house, and she gave me lots of aids like magnifiers and film sheets and all sorts of things that I could use to help me to concentrate on what I was doing. So that was a massive thing for me, and that led me back into doing art again. And I did some illustrations for charity and for a colouring book, and I just thought, okay, I've had to change what I'm doing from my very detailed small drawings and my very detailed large pen and ink to doing things differently. So I think whatever your circumstances are, you can adapt and change. It doesn't make it better, and it doesn't take away the loss of what you have lost, but you can be creative still. Now yesterday I was feeling quite fed up, and I was like, I have not had enough time to do any art, and I think it's better to do something rather than nothing. Even if it's a doodle, and I've got pages of books covered in doodles, but I feel that that's not actually producing anything that I can look back and say I've done something reasonable here. So what I decided to do was to I've got a beautiful camellia in my garden, and I love the pinks of it, and pink isn't a colour that I use a lot, but I have some beautiful pink pens from the Zig Art and Graphic twin pens. they do a really lovely shade of pink, lots of shades of pink, and I thought I will have a go. So I took some photos of this plant. I draw freehand, by the way. I always like to draw freehand, but what I do is I take photos of my work, and if I get a design that I like, I will trace that design so that I can keep the original and reuse it again and again if I want to use that shape again, because my pictures quite often go wrong because everything is very experimental. And this actually has gone wrong because I decided to use more layers of ink than the paper could cope with, and I knew I should have stopped, but the picture had no depth to it, and I was like, I have to just experiment and just take it that this picture has gone a bit wrong because of the paper, but I'm just playing with pens, I'm putting something down on paper. And yes, I would love to be doing a beautiful botanical print with watercolour, but my watercolours and my brushes are still packed away. Another different thing that's made me very fed up this week is the replacement pegs came for my cupboard that I'm building for the second lot, and they still don't fit. So the cupboard hasn't been built. I haven't been able to finish unpacking my art room, so it hasn't been a great week for me. So anyway, I decided to get out my pens that I do have, my micron pens, and I also want to do, I used to do Zentangle every day. I've got out of the habit of it, but I like to do Zentangle type patterns. So I got out some pinks and purples. First of all, I did the picture of the flower. I haven't actually traced that one off, but I can still trace the outline and do this again, exact same picture on a different paper. So I actually had, I think, 5 layers of ink on there, and I actually used some white coloured pencil for some highlights because I didn't have the pale enough pink, and I didn't want just a plain white highlight. I just wanted a paler pink highlight on the edges of the leaves. So there are ways it's a bit mixed media in there, and on this little picture here, I've actually just been messing about and just colouring in with some Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils and the Pigma brush pens. I don't know if you've seen, but the micron pens, they come in not a fantastic range of colours, but they do some nice shades. And I actually like the brush pens because compared to some of my other brush pens that are quite thick nibs, they're quite a fine nib, but quite flexible. So it's always nice to have different types of pen to experiment with. So I'm not entirely happy with either. One, because I've messed up on the paper and I put too many layers of ink, and I should have stopped, but then I wouldn't have been happy with the picture anyway. It just made me think like I really need to get my watercolours out and do some botanical type art rather than just pen and ink. But it is a sort of illustration rather than an actual botanical type. It's not meant to be a botanical painting, it is just an impression of, and it's really just to get some colour down. And the little tile here, this is just me doodling. So instead of just doodling on a scrap of paper, I've just doodled with colour on one of my little Peter Pauper to artist tiles. And I think I was glad at the end of the day. What this actually did for me was to stop me thinking about anything else that was going on, and it just encouraged me to just put colour down. It doesn't matter that it's not great, it doesn't matter that I've messed up the paper, it doesn't matter the design isn't great. The thing is, I have done something that has taken me away from the way I was feeling. And I got up this morning, looked at the weather, and I was like, this isn't great. I haven't got the enthusiasm to do the things I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm going to actually talk about the way I feel. And talking is great, especially I think you find I don't always have someone to talk to in person. So talking on a video, even if we don't publish that video, recording or writing down, I've taken part in writing therapy, and that is very therapeutic. Writing down your thoughts and feelings and keeping a journal or a diary of the way you feel. And it's something you can look back on. It's also something you can write down and close a page on and get your thoughts and your negative thoughts away and actually put them into that book and close the book and say goodbye to those thoughts. So there are all sorts of ways of distraction. Say pictures go wrong, it doesn't matter if they go wrong. If you're like me, you're just creating art just for fun and just to amuse yourself. It doesn't matter if they go wrong. I know that I'm never producing the type of detailed work that I used to do. I have problems with my hand as well. I have a very weak, shaky hand. And it's just about accepting that things aren't going to be the way they were. It doesn't matter if no one else likes what I do. It's just to amuse me, and I just can't encourage you enough to be creative. It is such a wonderful distraction.